So I think one of the biggest tragedies in Disney music history is that one of the best songs ever made by the company was recorded by one of the most notorious homophobes of the 20th century. I've already made a whole video about this, so definitely check that out if you want to learn all the details. But the long story short is that Anita Bryant was once the spokesperson for the Florida Citrus Commission, and in 1969, Disney collaborated with them to create the Orange Bird, a character who would promote orange juice and also appear at Disney World. The Sherman Brothers wrote a beautiful song to go along with the character, who once felt isolated but eventually found acceptance. And the song celebrates the orange bird for who he is, with a catchy melody and a beautiful arrangement.
Little orange bird, in the sunshine tree, won't you think of something sunny just for me?
Anita Bryant recorded it, and I love the recording. I'm sorry, I love her singing voice. But she then went on to become not only a notorious homophobe, but she also wrote the blueprint for what modern day homophobia looks like in the US. So Disney eventually cut ties with her and removed the Orange Bird from Disney World. Though he came back to the parks in 2012, the song has only been briefly referenced.
Think a funny thought, or a sunny word.
And Anita Bryant is largely remembered as a failed celebrity who sparked nationwide outrage over her hatred, and that eventually ruined her career.
Her name was Anita Bryant, who went on to become a top entertainer, then virtually vanished from sight after a bitter controversy that pitted her against the nation's gay community.
She gave us every access to world media. We had over 50,000 news clippings. This is the turning point where gay became a household word, and we opened up the entire debate on human sexuality.
Well, at least it's a fruit pie.
So let's all squeeze a fruit for Anita. Pass a little juice around. Have a hit of sunshine if you need to. Open your mind so she can close it right down.
And since I posted that video, I've gotten a lot of messages from people who have said oh, I went to the parks recently, I got some Orange Bird merch, what a queer icon. Or they've said oh, I love the Orange Bird song, it's such a queer anthem. And I find it really interesting how the queer community has lovingly embraced this character. And this whole situation reminds me of the importance of allegory in queer history. Whether it's writing stories that channel our experiences, empathizing with celebrities, or seeing queerness in characters, part of our cultural survival has long been dependent on taking up our space, regardless of whether or not society wants us to. As we embrace more direct forms of queer representation in media, I don't think we should abandon allegory. In fact, I think focusing too much on what queerness in media should look like, as opposed to what it should represent, is missing the point. I think the important thing is that queer people should have the agency to tell their own stories, no matter how they do that. It's possible for queer coding to both be something that has been used to denigrate queer people, and also something that artists have used to express queerness in situations where expressing it directly wasn't allowed. And if someone wants to use that method today, or wants to see themselves in a character, sure, it's different than open representation, but it's still a part of our history, and a part of queer expression in general. Since making that first video, I had always hoped that Disney would have a queer person re-record the Orange Bird song and release it during Pride Month or something, but I think the Anita Bryant Association makes that unlikely. At the same time, I don't want a beautiful song like this to be left behind, or at least tainted by her hatred. So I took things into my own hands and recorded my own cover. And when I asked if any subscribers wanted to join me, I was happy to get emails from many people who were interested. But before I show you the song, I need to address something. Of course, you know there are plenty of parallels to what happened with Anita Bryant in the past and what's currently happening in Florida, in the US, and in the world. Queer rights are under attack. And I think that the best way to advocate for queer liberation is not by appeasing queerphobes or trying to compromise on human rights. It's often directly funding the organizations who are helping their local communities be safe and have access to resources. And so in the description for this video, there's a donation link for TRIC, which is the Trans Interqueer Association in Berlin. Because as I've said before, I'm currently visiting New York, but I do live in Berlin, and most of my audience is from the US, so I thought I would use this opportunity in my platform to kind of bring awareness to things that trans people are facing in Germany, for example, that you might not be aware of. As of right now, there are many legal, medical, social hurdles and gatekeeping that prevent trans people in Germany from living with dignity. Though there is a new self-ID law on the way, the current draft as it looks is both objectively better and also still incredibly harmful to trans people. people. And that's for many reasons, but just some of the biggest issues are just that if you change your gender marker, that does not appear to actually have an effect on certain situations. For example, if you were assigned male at birth, but you're a trans woman and you change your gender marker, you can still be drafted. If you're a parent, you can also still legally be considered the father of your child, and you can't change any relationship to that. And also, perhaps the most concerning is there's a lot of debate about whether or not businesses should be able to deny trans people access to certain spaces based on their physical appearance. Unfortunately, a lot of these things kind of take away a lot of the power of having a self-ID law in the first place. So yeah, if you're able to, please consider donating to Trick. They're a wonderful organization that provides counseling and other resources to the local community, and honestly, they helped me a lot at the beginning of my transition. But anyway, I think if we want to give the Orange Bird song a completely new context, we can. So let's do it. Happy Pride. Here's my version.
Spelling out the long struggle for equality.
South Florida's played a key role in making all that happen back in 1977. A national equal rights battle was waged here. Opposing the gay rights movement was a fundamentalist group that chose singer Anita Bryant to lead their cause.
I'll have an orange juice.
And I went in behind and
We don't serve orange juice anymore.
He thinks beautiful orange pictures and beautiful orange words, though his little beak can't even peep a squeak. All the thoughts he ever spoke appear in orange smoke. That's what makes the orange bird unique. Little orange bird in the sunshine tree. Won't you think of something sunny just for me? Think a funny thought or a sunny word that'll make me happy, little orange bird. When you're just about green with envy, or gonna be feeling blue, you can use a little orange thought or two. When you start and blushing pink, or your temper turns you red, that's when the orange bird can see you through. Little orange bird in the sunshine tree. Won't you think of something sunny just for me? Think a funny thought or a sunny word that'll make me happy, little orange bird. With his beautiful orange feathers and beautiful leafy wings, he's a fluffy little puffy sight to see. He can turn your frown around when you see him looking down. The orange bird up in the sunshine tree.